So the next project that I'm fortunate enough to present on is our Complaints with Compassion program that we developed and initiated within our organisation. And that's a program that's been led by myself as Head of Patient Experience, and also my colleague Joanne Hawkins, who is our Complaints and Patient Experience Lead. And I believe Joe's on the call as well. Next slide, please. I think we can probably skip this slide because I think I've already told you about our organisation, so we can probably skip the next two and this one as well. So our complaints improvement journey started in September 2019, not long after I joined the organisation. And really, we were wanting to develop a quality improvement plan that focused on doing some consultation across the organisation and hearing what people thought about our local complaints handling. If you could just click through to the next point on the slide, please. So when we started this journey, we held a number of listening events to seek out feedback about our local complaints handling processes, as well as our local resolution policies. So that involved not only speaking to staff within our organisation and those directly involved in the investigation of complaints, but it also... Okay, I'll come back. I'll pick up from there. Thanks, Ruth. I don't know what happened there to mute me. Apologies. So in terms of our complaints journey, apologies if I repeat some of this, but I'll just start off with this slide. So our complaints journey started in September 2019, not long after I joined the organisation. We were really focused on trying to identify opportunities to improve our local complaints handling within the organisation. And so we started by holding a number of listening events and seeking out feedback from those who are involved in the complaints resolution process. So not only staff within our organisation and those close to investigating complaints, but also service user involvement. So we very much reflected on our complaints peer review, our complainant satisfaction feedback, and also patient stories of those who have been through the complaints process. We also mapped out the complainant's journey, and we really tried to identify opportunities at each stage of the complaints handling process that could potentially be improved within our organisation. So very much in line with the PHSO's vision of complaints handling. And so our complaints quality improvement plan started to emerge from some of this initial groundwork. And what we ended up wanting to focus on was improving the overall quality of our response letters with a focus on letter writing. So we really wanted to bring a compassionate approach into our letters, focusing on how we might soften some of the letters that go out from the organisation and ensure they remain factual and evidence-based, but at the same time being very kind and empathetic. We also wanted to improve our documentation, and we created a single complaints investigation report after doing a bit of a PDSA cycle around our documentation. And we also wanted to improve our local training offer, which at that point there was none, and staff had not had training for a very long time within the organisation. And that led us to develop our complaints with compassion workshops. Next slide, please. So just to sum up, so we set out to listen to the views of patients, families and carers to better understand their experience of complaints. We wanted to map the journey to explore the ways in which our systems and processes could be improved. We identified some quick wins and also some long-term ambitions for our service quality improvement. We also developed a suite of documentation, so templates, guidance, resources and tools to support staff and to also standardise our complaints handling approaches across the organisation. And ultimately, we pulled all of this together into what we term our complaints and compassion quality improvement plan. Next slide, please. So what we did. Following mapping out the services and gathering all that feedback, we reviewed our internal processes and we relaunched our standard operating procedure for complaints handling so that everyone was clear on their role and responsibilities in the process. We also produced a complaints process flow chart. So again, everybody in the organisation had a consistent way of understanding what is involved at every point of the process. We also developed and introduced a habitual vexatious complaints policy, and this was to ensure that there was an appropriate way to escalate aggressive, persistent or unreasonable complainants, so that the trust had a way to manage those very rare cases in a fair and consistent way. And this policy is only triggered in exceptional circumstances. And we have unfortunately had to do it for a few people over the 2 years that I've been with the trust. But it has really been a supportive mechanism for staff to know that this is there to support them when they are faced with very aggressive people. There's a clear way to kind of escalate those cases and to wrap around some support for not only staff, but for the person as well. We also introduced internal escalation processes within our team, and our complaints are now part of our safety incident review meetings on a weekly basis, where we get the opportunity to focus on high risk cases. And this gives us a great opportunity to triangulate when there's a joint serious incident investigation. We also introduced some quality standards for the production of response letters, and this was a tool that our team and also investigators use to make sure that they're considering all parts of the response letter in terms of format, tone, factual accuracy, and the language used as well. We also developed a co-produced letter writing workshop, which was delivered to our complaints and PALS staff. This was co-produced between one of our patient reps and also our clinical psychology department, and really is rooted in psychological theory and focusing on self-compassion within complaints handling, and recognizing that as complaints handlers and complaints investigators, it's not an easy job, and we're often faced with a lot of complex cases that are sometimes emotionally distressing and certainly upsetting. And I think all of us working in complaints can remember those cases that have touched us. So this was really an opportunity for staff to, again, have a safe space to talk about the emotional impact of being a complaints handler and working in complaints, and to consider between us our expertise and how we can improve our letter writing. On the back of that internal session, we then developed our Complaints with Compassion workshop, which is now offered to all staff. And so far, we've had about 300 staff attend the training. And we've also introduced some new investigation reporting documentation from the 1st of April 2021. Next slide, please. So our achievements to date, we've definitely improved the overall quality of our complaint responses. We now get compliments from people who have had their letters actually thanking us and expressing their satisfaction for the response that they've had from the trust. And we're seeing more and more of those coming through, which is really great. We definitely have more efficient internal quality checking processes, and we've seen a decrease of reopened complaints, although COVID is impacting that slightly, where people are actually coming back with more and more questions due to visitation restrictions and other things. We've had over 300 staff trained in investigating and responding to complaints. We've improved our documentation, templates and resources for staff. We've standardized and produced high quality documentation for use across all areas. We've improved our reporting of learning actions and outcomes following complaint investigation. We've increased staff engagement. We've improved patient, family and carer experience. We've also generated interest from other trusts to attend our training and to purchase in our training. And we've had the opportunity to share our improvement journey, not only here at PENNA, but also through the National NHS Complaints Summit and the HOPE Network, which is the Heads of Patient Experience Network. Next slide, please. If I could just bring up, yeah, is that okay, Ruth? Thanks so much. So in terms of what makes this initiative special, it really is a true model of partnership working. We've utilised the expertise of our complaints and PAL staff, which is a massive driver in the new NHS National Complaint Standard. We've co-produced our quality improvement approach and plan with patient reps, and we've definitely focused on self-compassion and compassion for others within our complaints resolution approach. And like I say, we've brought psychological theory into complaints resolution, which is unique within itself. We've strengthened our foundations, but our journey isn't over, and we're still continuing to improve all of the time. So I will finish there. Thank you so much, Ruth.